production of Hall Communications, Burlington, Plattsburgh.
Hello, this is Maria Alexander with the Senior Citizens Council of Clinton County, and this is Aging Matters. My guest today is a very special gentleman by the name of Daniel Kafitz, and he is the director of the North Country Honor Flight. So I know that there's not a lot of information out there right now, but it is slowly getting out there. And Danny, why don't you tell us a little bit about Honor Flight to begin with? And what is it?
Well, the initial Honor Flight chapter was created in Ohio in 2005. A doctor that ran a VA clinic was asking all his World War II vets, as the National World War II Memorial was reaching completion, if they were going to go to their memorial built in their honor in Washington. Of course, the vets all told him, yes, we're going, we can't wait. As time went on, after the memorial was finished, the same vets would show up at the doctor's clinic, the same question, have you been yet? And it was always, no, we don't have the money to travel, it's too far, etc. He finally took matters in his own hands and flew 12 World War II veterans to Washington, D.C., paid all their expenses, chartered a small plane. That was in 2005. Since then, the National Honor Flight has grown to 122 chapters nationwide in 41 states and has flown 91,000 World War II veterans to their memorial. We are the newest chapter in the country, representing the North Country. We cover 3 counties, Franklin, Clinton, and Essex. All World War II veterans are eligible. Everything is paid for. This is 100% all expenses paid for the veterans, and we try to make it the trip of a lifetime for them.
Okay, so you say make it a trip of a lifetime. Why don't you talk about from start to finish, because I've heard a little bit and I'm absolutely amazed and really excited to see this.
Well, what I like to focus on and why we're doing this, the National World War II Memorial, first of all, the longest overdue tribute in the history of our country, 65 years to build it. On the other hand, it's maybe a situation of it was worth the wait. It is the most beautiful feature in Washington. It's centered on the mall between the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument. It is the largest single monument in Washington. It covers every aspect of World War II, every single campaign, North Africa, Italy, Europe, and of course the Pacific. It is dedicated to every veteran that served. There were 16.1 million Americans in World War II. The reason it's so special as an honor flight, I tell every one of our veterans, if you just got on a bus and went, you would just be moved beyond description to see the memorial, but that's not what we do. Even within the range of the honor flight in the past years, other chapters downstate, in particular the Cobleskill Honor Flight chapter out of, which is called the Leatherstocking chapter, they have come up here and recruited veterans. The veterans had to arrange their own transportation to Albany, and then they boarded the honor flight and did the trip as guests of another chapter from downstate. Several veterans have been. I've met most of them. That's how I got introduced to honor flight. I actually volunteered to drive one back when he arrived in Glens Falls after his trip. That, again, I think is a great experience for him, but it's still not the same as what we're doing. By finally having a North Country Honor Flight, our honor flight starts here, and it starts today for him. We don't wait till we're in Albany to join up with a group of strangers. The director of the Leatherstocking chapter, Greg Furlong, who's done 19 flights and was very instrumental in getting us organized, his favorite saying is we treat them like rock stars. These ladies and gentlemen, we had our first woman sign up today, lovely lady, World War II nurse, we're just thrilled to have her. These veterans are going to be honored from the minute we leave that morning, every mile and every step of the way, and it is truly a monumental experience for them.
Well, I hear there's a motorcade, and they get all the way down the Northway, and
we have a Sunrise ceremony at the Barracks Veterans Park. We leave very early that morning. We hope to have a big crowd to send them off. We're flying on a Saturday. Our first of 4 flights is scheduled for May 18th and is just about full today, but we have 3 following flights. Second one follows mid-June, and then September and October. We don't fly in the hot months, July and August. It's just too unbearable down in D.C. So our first flight in May will leave from the barracks. We have a motorcycle escort, somewhere on the order of 500 motorcycles are going to accompany these, led by the Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association, all combat veterans leading the procession. State police escort. We have things I'm not supposed to give away because they're surprises to the veterans, but it's a very exciting trip down there. It's a very honorable trip. And when we hit Albany, the atmosphere really breaks loose. There are thousands of people waiting for him when they get to Albany Airport. We don't park. We drive right out on the runway. All veterans board first ahead of first class. It's not a chartered flight. We don't own the entire flight. We just take it over. But we will be meeting another 35 veterans from Cobleskill, so that the total force of veterans will be united then. But again, I think you can see the picture. We're not integrating one of our people in a group that's very close-knit from downstate. We are bringing our own force here, if you will.
From the North Country.
Yeah. Now, these men have so much in common. Somebody pointed out to me, and this is so true about the military, but World War II in particular, whoever you served with wasn't necessarily from your area. I mean, every rifle squad, every company, every battalion was guys from Texas next to guys from Arkansas and New York and New Jersey. So these men will have a lot in common with everybody they meet, and they aren't still New Yorkers in upstate New York. They all serve together. But by going down as a North Country group, we simply start the process a little earlier in the day, and the community support is just growing tremendously already. We have a lot of events. I hope we have time to mention a few. But that's the difference between allowing these veterans to be a part of our flight versus letting them just be guests on another flight. And the honor flight is not here for one flight or one season. We are here until every one of the approximately 800 to 1,000 World War II vets in the North Country has had the opportunity to see their memorial in Washington. So it's quite a mission, and it's worth every bit of the effort.
I'm Maria Alexander with the Senior Citizens Council, and this is Aging Matters. I am here talking with Danny Kafitz, and we are talking about the honor flight trip that they're having in a May, June, and you do it different times throughout the year, right?
May, June, September, October.
This is just a incredible opportunity for the World War II veterans in our area to be able to go and see their monument and what's been dedicated to them. What made you, Danny, decide to do this?
I think my reason is probably the same reason everybody that's involved in this, and it started on June 6th in a place called Normandy. My dad landed on D-Day, and it would be impossible to do this without feeling his presence at everything we're undertaking. It's his buddies, it's his service we're honoring. I think a lot of our directors and volunteers are in this for the same reason. And that's certainly not the only reason, it's just the easiest answer.
Well, a lot of people don't, they don't recognize or they don't really remember maybe what World War II was and what these people did dedicate themselves to for us, for our country. And I just think everything that you're doing is incredible, and I was so amazed at the people that I found here at Senior Citizens Council who are World War II vets and what they've done, and they're so humble. That's the part that amazes me. I mean, you must see that on a regular basis.
we don't just see it, we experience it every step of the way. We have a term for these veterans. We call them our quiet heroes. And everyone to a T, every interview has started the same way. I'm not a hero. I just did my job. Later in the interview, a gentleman that today is in his late 80s will be describing at 17 years old being in combat, pulling his buddies off the burning deck of an aircraft carrier. And yet 20 minutes before that, he described himself as not being a hero. These veterans are all heroes, and not just the ones that were in harm's way, although that is the majority of them, but I tell them I don't even care. I have their records. I hardly look at them. I don't care where they served. I don't care what kind of decorations they have. And we have the full spectrum of that. Lieutenant Colonel Gerald B. Edwards, who's on our first flight, fighter pilot in 3 wars, flew P-51 Mustangs in World War II, flew throughout Korea, and then did 6,000 hours of combat missions in Vietnam. We interviewed him. I said, Jerry, why did you go back the second and third time? He was a major when Korea happened, highly decorated from World War II. He was a colonel when World War II happened. Could have been behind a desk at the Pentagon, and he insisted on going in combat. And his answer was as simple as the enlisted man who just carried a rifle through Belgium, later in a different theater. His answer was just, that was my job. And it's universal. It's just universal. And I believe this overdue thank you is the biggest mistake in American history, to not have given these people credit for what they did, because it's never happened to this degree before or since, that such a large group of Americans has accomplished such a history-changing, life-changing, living difference in our lives today, whether we knew anything about World War II. The language we speak, the freedoms we have, it all started with 17, 18, 19-year-old kids just doing their job. And today it's our job to thank them. And that's really the whole principle of honor flight. No matter what we do, it's not enough. But the reciprocal of that, if you will, is that anything we do seems to be enough for them. These veterans are overwhelmed by our country taking the time and the trouble to recognize them. And it's...
they just look at it as, well, that's what I was supposed to do. You know, I was drafted, or I had to do this, and I was talking at lunchtime with one of the gentlemen that will be going with you, and he just said, I was drafted, I went here, I did this, my wife stayed here, and I was, next thing you know, I was in the beaches of Normandy, and I was just like, he said to me one day, he says, that movie Private Ryan, it's really not like, it's not like they said. And I know that everybody says that that's probably the closest depiction you're going to get, but when you hear somebody talk about what they experienced, they know. It doesn't matter what Hollywood thinks.
Oh, absolutely. I think, for one thing, what I have the opportunity to do when I meet these men and talk to them, I have the greatest job in the world. I just wish I had a paycheck going with it sometimes, but I wouldn't give this up for anything. We had an interview the other day. The reporter left after a full hour interviewing a Marine on our first flight, Merwin Cowles, and when she left, I stayed another 2 hours. I just couldn't get enough of it, and neither could he. I mean, these guys brighten up when you start talking. You go back on the second or third visit, and they say, I've been thinking since you were here. I've been remembering so much more stuff I want to tell you. And I would like to explain something else that's universal. When we talk to these veterans, this has occurred almost every single time. I ask them, have you talked a lot about this with your family, your grandchildren, your wives? The answer is the same every time. I've never spoken to anybody in 65 years. And I do feel it's part of what we're doing is giving them some closure when they get to the memorial. In a lot of ways, they're saying goodbye for the last time to a lot of friends that are represented there. And I think they are finally being thanked appropriately for what they did. And that's what the Honor Flight is here for.
For more information, you can call Dan, and his phone number is 834-9901. And if you're interested or if you know of that, please give him a call. There will be 2 flights. The one in May is pretty full, I think, but there will be one going in June.
Absolutely. We will not turn down a single veteran, so there is no limit to how many we will take down there, and we will find a way to get every veteran down there that requests to be a part of the honor flight.
Well, we are out of time, Danny, so thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much.
This is Maria Alexander with Senior Citizens Council. Thank you for joining us on Aging Matters.
This program has been a production of Hall Communications, Burlington, Plattsburgh.